So let's get started if we're ready at home. Please make sure that you've got messy equipment down, so you've got like a sheet down, because we'll be painting. You might have to have any old tops or bottoms on so that you don't get paint everywhere. Maybe even an apron if you've got one at home. So first things first, you're going to take your cardboard cereal box, or whichever box you're choosing to use today. It's quite funny when I picked my cereal box to use, because if you can see, there are actually underwater sea creatures on the back of the box, which is super fun. So that could give you some ideas as to what creatures you could have floating in your aquarium. It doesn't need to be just fish. But what you're going to do first of all is you are going to cut a rectangle out of your cardboard box, okay? So the best way to do it is that you would draw a nice rectangle inside your cardboard box. It's kind of like, I'm imagining that you're making a TV, so you need to leave a nice rim around the edge. If you don't want to draw all the lines out, you don't have to, you could just mark the corners. You won't be able to see on camera, but I have drawn a bit of a rectangle around the edges. And what you're going to do is you're going to cut that outline out, and you're going to take out the middle section, so that you should end up with something that looks like this. I know I've pre-done it already just because it's a little bit fiddly. So adults at home, please make sure you're doing this nice and carefully, or supervising your young people to cut out this section of the cardboard box. So as you can see, it now looks like a TV screen. So we've got our back bit is still intact. We've closed both of the ends, and it's got a nice thick rim around the edge, and this is the rim of our aquarium. So this is the four walls that our aquarium is going to be housed inside. So I've pre-painted the edges black, as you can see. Now the excuse me, the tank of your aquarium can be any colour you wish. So it could be pink, it could be purple, it can be yellow. I chose black because when I had an aquarium it used to be black, so it kind of reminds me of the aquarium, a fish tank that I used to have at home. But you can go for like a silver colour as well if you like. It's completely up to you. So yes, I've already pre-painted that. Today is a very warm day, so it dried super quickly this morning. Again, I've been using acrylic paints, but poster paints work well as well. Top tip, if you have a bit of white acrylic, you can mix it in with your poster paint so that you don't have to put as many coats onto your painting, because it's slightly thicker paint. Also, it's better to do a few layers because it dries quicker. So it's actually, it might seem like a bit of a tiring job to paint over the same bit again and again, but it works out better because you actually, the paint dries super quickly instead of putting one thick layer on and having to wait for ages for it to dry. So I've painted the edges of my aquarium like so. But I still need to paint the inside, so we're going to paint the background blue. I wonder why we're painting it blue. Does anybody at home know why? I think you've probably guessed it. Blue is normally the colour we think of when we think of the water. So blue is probably the best colour to paint to create some water for our fish in our aquarium to live in. Now, if you're joining in at home, don't worry if you are a few steps behind at all. I am going through this at a slightly quicker pace by having pre-cut and pre-painted some sections, just so that I don't bore you and you don't just watch me paint for the whole time, although you might find that really enjoyable because I love painting. So please do share with us your making process at home. So take some photos, take some videos, send them in so we can see you all joining in at home making your wonderful aquariums. This is a perfect time as you're painting the water in your aquarium tank or your cereal box. It's a perfect time to think of what fish or sea life creatures you might want to create to put inside your aquarium today. I think I'm just going to go with some fish. Like some goldfish, maybe a tropical fish, just like the ones that I have done in this aquarium box here. But you could go for any creature you like. You could make a shark that chases all the other fish about. You could make an octopus with 8 tentacles that sits at the bottom of your tank. That would be pretty cool. You could make a seahorse that floats about in the ocean. You could do anything you like, and that's what's so great about these arts and crafts that we've been sharing with you all, is that you can adapt and use your imaginations to create anything that you would like to add into what we're making. So I'm nearly done with painting the backdrop, so the water. I don't know if you can see, look, doing quite a quick job. As you can see, the paint is starting to dry already, and I've just got the bottom to go, so I've just finished that off. If you've already got an idea as to what fish or sea creatures you're going to create and put into your little aquarium, then maybe comment below on the video, because we'd love to hear what creatures you're going to have in your aquarium this morning. Okay, now don't worry if there's a few gaps and you can still see the cardboard peeping through on your backdrop, because we will add like details, and once you've put your fish in, you might not even be able to spot it. So I've painted the backdrop. Now it's up to you whether you want to paint the top and the sides blue as well. I did that earlier just because I think it's good, because if you accidentally tip it or people peer into it, they can see that the sea and the water is all the way around. However, the bottom I haven't painted blue, because I'm actually going to paint that a different colour. I think I'm going to paint it yellow, so it looks like sand at the bottom of our tank. Now, if you maybe have a sand pit at home, or if you have, I don't know, maybe you live really close to a beach, you might be able to get some sand to stick at the bottom of your fish tank, which would be amazing. So if you do have sand by any means available to you, then go ahead and feel free to stick some sand at the bottom. That will add a little bit of texture onto the bottom of your tank and really bring it to life. If you don't have any paints at home and you have coloured card instead, you can do the exact same thing with coloured card. So you can just cut out a big square that matches the size of your cardboard box of blue card, and you can stick that onto your backdrop. Equally, you can do the same with the bottom with some yellow card. If you also don't have any card or paint, you could also use felt tip pens. It might take slightly longer, but it will also give you the same effect. So don't worry if you don't have all the materials needed to create this. You can always adapt and put your own spin on things, and as I say, coloured card, paint or felt tip pens will all give you a similar effect as to what we're trying to go for today. So, enough of me talking for now. I think I've just finished painting the bottom. So, if you can see, look, the bottom of my tank is yellow to recreate the sand. So we've got our lovely blue water and we've got our lovely yellow sand. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop this to the side so we can let it dry for now. Turn it this way. Lovely. What we're going to do next is, remember that we started by cutting a big rectangle out from our cardboard box. So we've got a bit of cardboard missing. Now, it's your choice. If you have some coloured card, you might want to create your fish or your underwater creatures by drawing them on that coloured piece of card and cutting them out. However, if you wish to use all the bits of your cardboard box, you can do what I have done. And see, this is the bit that I've cut out, and on the back I've started to draw the outlines of the fish that I would like in my aquarium. This way we save all the cardboard, so we don't have to just save it and recycle it. We can just make use of it all for the one craft, which I think is super handy. So if you can see, I'll hold this here for a while, I've drawn the outline of 2 goldfish, 1 more tropical fish, and I've also drawn some seaweed at the bottom, okay? So again, if you've got coloured card or plain paper, you can use your felt tip pens to colour them in. You can just use the coloured card that you've got that matches the colour of the fish you want to cut out, stencil out your fish and cut this out. But I decided that whilst I've got all my paints out, what I can do is paint the designs onto my fish outlines that I would like before I cut them out. That way it's less fiddly. When you're trying to hold all your fish that you've cut out and paint them, you could just paint them all first and then cut them out. So I've yet to paint one of my fish, so I've painted my 2 goldfish orange. I'm going to focus on painting this fish down here, and I'm going to paint it a stripy colour. I'm going to go with the same colours that I have in this tank, which is yellow and green. I think they go nicely together. I wanted to paint a blue fish actually, but then I realised that we've painted the water of our tank blue, so you might not see the fish very well if you painted the same shade of blue. So instead I'm going to paint it green and yellow because I think that will stand out very nicely. Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to go with a stripy fish. So you can do any pattern on your fish that you have. You might want to look up a picture of a fish, or maybe you've seen a fish before, maybe at the aquarium, that you like the look of and you want to recreate it for your tank. So if so, then that's great. Now, I'm painting my fish, but what's great about painting it before you've cut it out is that you don't need to worry about going over the lines, because once you've cut out the shape of your fish, you won't see the paint that's on the outside of the lines because they'll no longer be there. So that's a good top tip as well for not cutting out your fish before painting them. Now, the bigger the cardboard box you have, or box that you're using to create your aquarium, the bigger your tank is going to be, so you could fit so many more creatures in. So a cereal box, you can probably fit about 3 or 4 creatures in there, underwater creatures. But if you've got a bigger box, maybe like a box that used to have a TV in it, you could put loads of sea creatures there. So that'll be fantastic if you've got one of them. And if you've got plenty of time, you could make loads of different size aquariums too, which would be fun. So I'm going to show you what I've painted. So you can see my stripy fish, which doesn't look like a fish anymore because you can't see its fish shape, but I can just about see it. So I've painted my green and yellow stripes. You can if you look ever so closely, you can still see the outline of the fish, so that I'll still be able to cut it out. I'm going to paint the seaweed now. And again, I'm not going to worry about painting it neatly because I'll cut it out in a second once it's dry. So as long as I can kind of see the outlines, I'll be okay. I wonder what colours you're painting your fish or sea creatures this morning. Please do tell us. Maybe it's your favourite colour, or maybe you're adding a pattern to your fish or octopus or sharks or whatever you're drawing. So really feel like you can use your imagination to create your perfect aquarium. So as you can see, I've roughly painted my seaweed as well. I'm just going to let this dry to the side, and I'm going to bring you back to our tank here. So as you can see, the paint is all dry. It's super warm, so it's dried really, really quickly. What I'm going to do is just add a little bit of detail, and I'm going to draw some waves or paint some waves on the back to make it look more like that the fish are floating in the sea. So I'm going to use some dark blue paint, I think, like this. You could also use a dark blue pen, that might be just as easy to use. Here we go, so I'm going to draw some waves. And it's alright if your waves look a little bit uneven or a little bit messy, because waves come in all shapes and sizes. So it doesn't really matter. It's quite nice doing it with a brush because you get that swoopy effect of the waves crashing on the ocean. Don't know if you can see. There we go. Lovely. On this one I drew my waves with a pen, so you can't see them as well, but today I've decided to paint them on so they're slightly clearer. Fantastic. Again, you're going to leave this to the side to dry, and because again it's quite warm today, if you're sat by some windows as well, my fish have dried pretty quickly. So what we could do now is, adults, if you take hold of your scissors, if you've got child-friendly scissors as well, children, just be careful whilst you are cutting out the outlines of your fish. So go nice and slowly and nice and carefully. Again, adults supervise any younger children who don't have as much experience with using scissors. We wouldn't want anybody to get hurt this morning. So again, the smaller the scissors you have, it will be slightly easier, I find. But if you've got bigger scissors, it's okay. You can just cut around the fish before trying to cut out and follow the outlines, because it makes it slightly easier. Now it's up to you how big or how small you draw your fish. Look, we have one here already done. Yes, it's up to you. You might want to have loads of big fish, you might want to have a few small fish as well. Completely up to you. After we've cut our fish out for our aquarium, we're going to add on their eyes so that they can see where they're swimming. So if you have googly eyes at home, again, this is a perfect craft to use them for. If not, just like me, you might just draw some eyes on some paper, cut them out and stick them on. I wish I had some googly eyes, because it would really bring our fish to life. So I've cut out 2 fish already. I'm just doing my last fish before I do the seaweed. How is everyone's arts and crafts going at home? I hope that they are going well. I bet your sea creatures and aquariums are already looking fantastic. I can't wait to see the photos and pictures that you send in to us. This is a perfect chance to make your own aquarium if you've always wanted some pet fish. If any of you have any pet fish at home, then please do tell us what they look like and what their names are, if they've got any names. I used to have a fish called Bubbles, and I wonder why I called him Bubbles. Okay, here's my stripy fish. Can we see? Oh, it looks fantastic. And now I'm going to cut out our seaweed. I wonder what other sea creatures live under the sea. So we've spoken about fish, we've spoken about sharks, we've mentioned seahorses and even octopuses. What other sea creatures live under the sea? You might want to comment some suggestions below to give everyone else ideas as to what they could put in their aquarium. You could also put some magical creatures in your aquarium. Maybe, this is my seaweed, maybe you could create a mermaid, and maybe a mermaid lives in your aquarium tank. You could even create an underwater city. That would be amazing, and you could pop that at the bottom of your aquarium. Maybe you would create a shipwreck. You could create a boat, and that could sit at the bottom of the bay on your aquarium. The possibilities are endless. There are so many things you could do. Right, and that's all of my seaweed cut out. Fantastic. So what we're going to do is we're going to start sticking these bits together so that they fit into our wonderful aquarium tank. So let's move some of my brushes out of the way. Okay, there we go. So what we're going to do is I'm going to add the seaweed first because it's right at the bottom. And now a top tip, if you're cutting out your seaweed, you might want to make the base of it a little bit longer, because what you can do is you can bend the bottom, so just fold the bottom like this, and you've made a little platform for your seaweed to stand up in. Then all you need to do is grab your glue. You can use PVA glue, you can use a glue stick. I'm again using some craft glue like I have been in my other videos. And what you can do is you just glue the bottom bit that you've just folded up, and you can stick that to the bottom of your aquarium. Like so. And I'm just going to stick the other one on as well. If you have lots of time, what you can do, like I have done in this one, is you can cut out some pink squiggly seaweed, which looks a little bit like coral at the bottom of the ocean. So especially for those who are maybe creating some tropical fish, you might want to add some coral to the bottom of your tank to make it look a bit more realistic. There we go. So we've got our seaweed all stuck in now, if you can see. Fabulous. I said that I actually went and got some pebbles, didn't I? From outside in the garden. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick them at the bottom of the ocean too, at the bottom of our tank, because fish love to hide behind and underneath rocks, and some fish even live there. So this will just add a little bit of detail to the fish tank. Don't worry again if you don't have any pebbles going spare anywhere nearby. What you can do is you can draw your own pebbles or rocks from some card or more cardboard, and you can add them to the bottom of your ocean. So I'm just taking my time, gently sticking the rocks on. I don't know if you can see, look, I'm starting to stick them on. This is a lovely craft to do whilst the sun is shining, because it makes me think about the beach and being in the water, which is one of my favourite places to be. I wouldn't suggest though filling up this tank full of water, because I don't think your cardboard would hold the water very well, and I think your cardboard fish might get a little bit soggy too. So I wouldn't suggest doing that, although it does sound pretty fun. Okay, lovely. I don't know if you can see, I'll just lift it up. So I've got my pebbles stuck at the bottom of the ocean. Fantastic. We're going to set that aside to dry, so that the pebbles and the seaweed can dry for a little bit. Meanwhile, we're going to come back to the 3 fish that I've cut out. And what we're going to do, what did I say I was going to add on so that they could see? That's right, I'm going to add on some eyes. So again, I've just been drawing my eyes. I've just cut out a circle from paper and drawn a nice big dot in the middle. And what we're going to do is stick them on. Now we only need to draw one eye to stick on these fish because they're swimming sideways, so you can't see their eye on the other side. But look, they already look fantastic. Again, like I said, googly eyes would work perfectly for this. So it means that as they're floating in your tank, their eyes are looking around and seeing all the wonderful things that they can see. Okay, and now my goldfish have eyes too. That's a nice, quick and easy job. Lovely. Now what we're going to do is we're going to turn all of our fish over so that we can just see the cardboard side on the back. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our string. Remember at the beginning I said we'll need some string, and ideally it would match the colour of the sea. So a blue colour or a green colour, just so that it kind of blends in. You might even have some thin clear wire so it looks like the string's invisible. That would be cool because it would look like the fish are actually floating by themselves. But any string is fine. You could also paint the string a different colour if you've got paints at home, but your string is looking a bit plain, or you'd like it to be a funky colour. So what I've done is I've cut 3 long strips. They're not too long, they're probably a good couple of inches, maybe like 1, 2, 3, 4, like a good 4 inches. You can trim them down in a second, but what we're going to do is we're going to tape each piece of string to the back of each of the fish. Now the way we're going to stick them on is that your string is going to appear at the top, okay, so don't put your string at the bottom because your fish won't be floating, they'll be sat on the floor at the bottom of the tank, so you want them to be up above because we're going to stick the string to the ceiling so that they float. You can use glue if you like, but I'm going to use some good old sticky tape to hold that into place. And you're going to do this with all the sea creatures that you've made. So if you've made 3, you need 3 bits of string. If you've made 10, you'll need 10 bits of string. But again, they don't need to be really long because your tank might not necessarily be very big. However, if you've got a massive cardboard box and you're making a massive fish tank, what's really great is that you can cut these strings to different lengths so that some fish are floating up high and some fish are floating down low. So it gives you an idea of the different levels that the fish might be swimming on. So, as you might be able to see now, my fish are stuck onto the string. There we go. So the last thing to do is to stick our fish into our aquarium tank. So we're going to lie this down again, and what we're going to do is we're going to stick the end of our string to the top of our tank. Now, if you stick your fish further back towards the wall, it will look like they're swimming quite far away. If you stick your fish slightly closer to the rim where the gap is of your tank, it will look like the fish are swimming closer to you. So this will work perfectly if you've made all your fish different sizes, so you can really add some depth to your tank, so it might look like that your fish are swimming so far away. Like I said, you might start putting your fish in and realising, oh, the string is too long. Do not worry, it's better to make your string slightly longer than shorter because you can just give it a bit of a trim before sticking it on. So again, I'm going to use tape. I think tape is slightly easier than glue, so I would suggest some tape if you have any. So I've added some tape to the top of the string, and I'm going to lift up the box and I'm going to tape it underneath at the top of the roof. So when I flip it up, look, our fish is swimming. Fantastic, that's one. So let's do the others, shall we? I am so excited to hear about what fish you have swimming in your tank that you've made. So please do tell us. Okay. Oh, and here's another one. What you might want to do if you have time is paint both sides of your fish if you would like. but you also might be happy just painting the one side. But when they flip around, if you've painted both sides, then you won't notice the cardboard on the other side. One more fish to go. There we have it. Can we see my fish floating in my aquarium? Doesn't that look fantastic? This little fish keeps wanting to swing around so we can't see his wonderful face. There we go, and it looks exactly the same as the one I created earlier. Like I said, you can add a bit more detail to the bottom, so you can add some coral, you can add some sand, you can add anything you like, and that is how we make our under the water aquarium, your very own aquarium to keep in your very own home. I wonder where you're going to put your aquariums in your homes. Are they going to live in your bedroom, or are they going to live in your kitchen, or maybe even your bathroom? So please do send us a picture or a photo and leave them in the comments below this video, or even send us a message on Facebook so that we can see and we can share your aquariums with everyone else. This has been so much fun. Thank you for joining me again this morning with our arts and crafts session where we've been making these aquariums. I'm sure we'll be back again next week with another arts and crafts session, so if you have anything or any ideas that you would like us to make, then please send them in so that we know that we can share them with everyone at home. I know that I have a few Easter egg boxes left over from the weekend, and I'm sure some of you might do too. So maybe we'll think about a craft we can make with our Easter egg boxes for next week. So any ideas, send them in. Oh, well, I hope your aquariums are coming along just nicely at home, and I look forward to seeing them. Remember to tune in again this evening at 8 p.m. for a bedtime story. This evening it's going to be Helen joining you, and I wonder what story she is going to tell us, so please tune in to find out. Have a lovely rest of your Wednesday, everyone at home, and I hope to see you again very, very soon. So for now, goodbye and have a wonderful day.